There's a beach in Ireland called Bay in Connemara that's made entirely of crushed seashells instead of sand, and the sand is so white it looks like the Caribbean. But here's the incredible part. The shells creating this beach are so tiny they're microscopic. They're from single-celled organisms called foraminifera that have been accumulating for thousands of years. And scientists can trace the age of different layers of the beach going back 4,000 years by analyzing which species of foraminifera are in each layer. Bay and its twin beach Gurteen Bay right next to it are two of only a handful of beaches in the entire world made completely from foraminifera shells. And they're in the middle of rainy gray Ireland looking like they belong in the tropics. The beaches are on a narrow strip of land called a Tombolo, a natural land bridge connecting the mainland to an island, and you can stand in the middle with Bay on one side and Gurteen Bay on the other. Both brilliant white with turquoise water that looks fake, it's so blue. Here's what makes this scientifically fascinating. Foraminifera are microscopic single-celled organisms with calcium carbonate shells, and when they die, their shells accumulate on the ocean floor. Over thousands of years at Bay, trillions upon trillions of these microscopic shells have washed up and been crushed into what looks like white sand, but is actually a shell graveyard of organisms you need a microscope to see. Scientists have studied Bay extensively because the different layers of shells act like a geological timeline. They can dig down and find shells from 4,000 years ago at the bottom, then work their way up through layers representing different time periods, and by identifying which species of foraminifera are in each layer, they can determine what the ocean temperature and conditions were like at that time. It's like reading Earth's climate history written in microscopic shells. The beach is constantly replenished. Every tide brings in more dead foraminifera shells from the Atlantic, and storms wash up massive amounts, so the beach actually grows and shrinks depending on ocean conditions, and scientists monitor it to track changes in ocean ecosystems. Here's what tourists experience. You walk onto what looks like a perfect white sand beach, and the sand feels different, slightly coarser, crunchy underfoot, and when you look closely at a handful, you can see it's made of tiny shell fragments, though you need a magnifying glass or microscope to see the individual foraminifera shells. The water is shockingly cold because it's the Atlantic Ocean off the west coast of Ireland, not the Caribbean, so people show up expecting tropical temperatures. Because the beach looks tropical, and then they wade in and realize it's absolutely freezing. But the contrast is part of the magic. This Caribbean-looking beach in the middle of moody, dramatic Connemara landscape. Bay is also ecologically important. The foraminifera shell beaches create a unique habitat that supports specific types of seagrass and marine life that wouldn't survive on regular sand beaches. So there are species at Bay that exist almost nowhere else in Ireland. The beaches are protected as a special area of conservation, which means you can visit, but you're not supposed to remove shells. Though they're so small, you'd need to scoop up handfuls of sand to even notice you had them. The Tombolo connecting Bay and Gurteen Bay is only about 100 meters wide at the narrowest point, so you can literally walk from one beach to the other in 2 minutes, and people do this to compare them. They look nearly identical, both brilliant white with turquoise water. But locals insist they have slightly different characters and will argue about which one is better. The area is popular with surfers despite the freezing water because the Atlantic swells create decent waves. And there's something surreal about watching surfers in wetsuits on a beach that looks like it should have palm trees and beach bars instead of Irish sheep grazing on the hills behind it. Bay has appeared on lists of most beautiful beaches in the world and best beaches in Europe, which confuses people who don't know about it because Ireland isn't known for beaches. And then photos show this white paradise and people assume it's photoshopped or it's actually somewhere in Greece or the Caribbean. But no, it's genuinely in Connemara, Ireland, and it's white because of trillions of microscopic dead organisms. The name Bay has no known origin. Nobody knows why it's called that, and there are no local legends about dogs, so it's just one of those Irish place names where the meaning has been lost to time. During summer, Dogs Bay can get relatively crowded by Irish standards, maybe 50, 100 people on a good day, but in winter it's often completely empty, and you can have a Caribbean-looking beach entirely to yourself while wearing 3 layers and getting blasted by Atlantic wind. If you just learned there's a beach in Ireland that looks like the Caribbean, but it's made of trillions of microscopic organism shells that have been accumulating for 4,000 years, scientists use the different layers to study ancient ocean temperatures, and it's in the middle of rainy Connemara on a Tombolo, where you can walk between 2 identical white beaches in 2 minutes. Follow for more Irish natural wonders that prove Ireland has some of the strangest and most beautiful geology on Earth.